Hi, this is Jenny from the lab, and today I would like to talk to you about embryo grading. So, let's go. We'll first start with the basics. This is how an embryo looks like on its day 5 or day 6 of development. And this embryo is also called blastocyst. The blastocyst has two structures, the inner cell mass, which will eventually become the baby, and the trophectoderm, which will eventually become the placenta. The blastocyst also has a shell around it, which is called Zona pellucida, and the cavity inside the blastocyst, which is filled with liquid, is called blastocoel. Now that we know how the blastocyst looks like, we can talk about embryo grading, which is the morphological assessment used to evaluate the quality of the embryo. Basically, the embryo grading is an evaluation of how pretty an embryo looks like. The most common embryo grading is the Gardner system, which takes into account three morphological aspects: the blastocyst expansion, which we evaluate with numbers, the inner cell mass, which we evaluate with letters, and the trophectoderm, which we also evaluate with letters. So, when you receive the grade of your blastocyst, you will notice three different elements: a number, a letter, and a letter. When talking about the blastocyst expansion, we should imagine the blastocyst as this toy ball that it can be collapsed or expanded, and the range of expansion goes from 1 to 6, with 6 being the most expanded. Let's talk about the grades of expansion. In grade 1, or early blastocyst, the inside cavity is less than half the volume of the blastocyst. In grade 2, or blastocyst, the inside cavity is more than half the volume of the blastocyst. In grade 3, or full blastocyst, the inside cavity is completely filling the blastocyst. In grade 4, or expanded blastocyst, the blastocyst shell is getting thinner. In grade 5, or hatching blastocyst, the blastocyst is starting to come out of its shell. In grade 6, or hatched blastocyst, the blastocyst has completely come out of its shell. Now we are going to talk about the inner cell mass, the structure that will eventually become the baby. We evaluate the inner cell mass with letters from A to C, with A being the best. An inner cell mass classified as an A would be prominent and easily seen, and its cells would be tightly compacted. An inner cell mass classified as a B would be less prominent, and its cells would be less compacted and also larger in size. And an inner cell mass classified as a C would have very few visible cells, and those cells would be difficult to distinguish from the trophectoderm. And now we are going to talk about the trophectoderm, the structure that will eventually become the placenta. We evaluate the trophectoderm with the same system as the inner cell mass, with letters from A to C, with A being the best. A trophectoderm classified as an A would have a continuous layer of small identical cells that look like a carpet. A trophectoderm classified as a B would have fewer cells with some gaps, so it wouldn't be a continuous carpet. And a trophectoderm classified as a C would have even fewer cells that can be uneven in size, and it would also have much more gaps. Also, there are some clinics that include letter D to evaluate the trophectoderm and the inner cell mass to indicate that that embryo isn't suitable and that it will be discarded. So, when you receive the grade of your embryos, now you know that the number at the front corresponds to the blastocyst expansion. The first letter corresponds to the inner cell mass, the structure that will eventually become the baby, and the second letter corresponds to the trophectoderm, the structure that will eventually become the placenta. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video about embryo grading, and if you've got any question, I'll be more than happy to answer.